Tonight on SpeedWeek, Ernie goes from spectator to spectacular. In the Heartland, drag racing's big three get one step closer. Back home again, the bottom line at Simon's gets additional boost. And this baby is ready to go supersonic. SpeedWeek accelerates next. Hi, everyone, and welcome to SpeedWeek. I'm Bob Jenkins. Last weekend, many champions-to-be took anywhere from small to medium to large steps in securing their respective titles in various types of racing all over the world. Coming up, we'll show you who's on the verge of being crowned. But tonight's spotlight falls on Ernie Irvan, who took not just a step, but a giant leap back into NASCAR racing with a weekend at North Wilkesboro that could be described with hundreds of adjectives. We'll put impressive at the top of our list. With a huge crowd in attendance for Friday's first round of qualifying, the track record holder posted a lap of 117.641 miles an hour, nowhere near his own mark, but good enough to put him 7th on the grid and earn a standing ovation. No sooner had he dealt with the media blitz than he had to switch gears and jump in his super truck for time trials. When the field went for green on Saturday, Ernie was right back where he belonged, up front on the outside of row 1 next to pole sitter Mike Skinner. But the difference between the two was only 0.03 of a second, and although Skinner was able to fend off Ernie early on, it was just a matter of time. Lap 6 will go into the record books as Ernie's first official time to be scored up front, and again the crowd erupted. As wife Kim and daughter Jordan looked on, Ernie ran up front for the next 20 laps and led a second time before the halfway break. It was during the mandatory timeout that Irvan's crew attempted to replace his sway bar. But the plan backfired when the crew couldn't complete the work in time, and the race restarted without him. He was credited with 30th place. USAC graduate Mike Bliss utilized the expertise of new crew chief Barry Dodson to lead the final 21 laps to win his first career super truck race by just a second over Butch Miller. For a team with only 3 prior top 5 finishes, victory lane was predictably emotional. Signs welcoming Ernie back to Winston Cup were everywhere as the series gridded for their final short track race of the season. The Roush stable started up front with Ted Musgrave on pole for the first time this season. The teammates, along with Bobby Hamilton, traded the lead amongst themselves until this incident involving Hut Strickland, Jimmy Spencer, and Bobby Labonte brought out a brief caution on lap 33. What followed would be a 334-lap stretch of green flag racing with Ernie cleanly and consistently picking his way through the field, here passing Bobby Hamilton for second. As if written in a movie script, Ernie parlayed this 21.4-second stop into the top spot on the leaderboard. For the record, he'd led laps 125 through 155. Although Mark Martin eventually took the trip to victory lane, Ernie never wavered from his game plan. The number 88 came home in 6th place on the lead lap.
Everybody wonders why Ernie Irvan wanted to come back to racing. That's what it's all about. You know, I had a ball out there racing and racing with all my buddies and competitors and the people that have been so supportive and these fans. I mean, this is nothing more exciting than out here racing like this.
Earnhardt dropped a cylinder, forcing him to finish a lap down in 9th. Gordon's 3rd boosted his margin to 302 over Dale. That translates into an average finish of 17th or better needed in the last 4 races in order for Jeff to win the Winston Cup. On Monday, Irvan announced that he would not race at Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend. According to crew chief Larry McReynolds, there is simply not enough time to prepare the 4 primary and backup cars needed for Irvan and Dale Jarrett. Look for Ernie back in the cockpit at Rockingham in 2 weeks. Ricky Rudd's crew chief Bill Engel was named the Western Auto Mechanic of the Tyson Holly Farms 400. Rudd moved from 24th starting position to lead 58 laps and finished on the lead lap in 5th. With the exception of a few complicated mathematical scenarios, the NHRA Pro Stock, Funny Car, and Top Fuel Points races are all but locked. But as Dave McClellan reports from Topeka, no one is coasting to the finish.
Thanks, Bob. Although disappointed, Pro Stock's Warren Johnson didn't have to sweat out losing his points lead after losing to Steve Schmidt in the semis. Schmidt advanced to the final round, taking lane choice over number 4 qualifier Jerry Ekman. Ekman was looking for his first win in 3 final round appearances this season. Schmidt's only other final resulted in a win at Columbus. Ekman lost traction at the start, and in just 7.07 seconds, Schmidt claimed his second victory of the year. But it's still all Warren Johnson at the top. His scenario to clinch at Dallas: win at least 2 rounds, no matter what Yates can accomplish. In Funny Car Eliminator, Cruz Pedregon played giant killer. After disposing of Oswald, Etchells, and points leader John Force, Cruz staged against Al Hoffman in the finals. In a day filled with speed, Pedregon went 3 for 4 over 300 miles an hour, a feat never before accomplished in funny car racing. Hoffman could only watch from behind. Force's 197-point lead dictates that regardless of what Hoffman does, if Force can win 3 rounds, it's over. Hoffman and Pedregon should be fighting for second until the end. In Top Fuel, it was all Scott Coletta. The points leader blew away the ET mark on Saturday with a time of 4.660, and although he didn't back it up for a record, it still stands as the quickest time in NHRA history. On Sunday, he outpowered 3-time series winner Mike Dunn to pick up his 6th win of the year with an ET of 475 and a speed of over 295 miles an hour. Coletta now has the championship within reach. Dunn did recapture 3rd place from Larry Dixon. Corey Mack must finish 1 round ahead of Coletta in Dallas to push the showdown to Pomona. If both leave in the same round at the Chief Nationals, the championship stays with Scott. For SpeedWeek, I'm Dave McClellan.
Thanks, Dave. Coming up next on Speed Week, Michael gets a standing O at the Nürburgring.
That shows to the outside how is really the situation between of us. I mean, we are not maybe the best friends, but we don't really have problems against each other.
After 2 weeks and 2 consecutive Grands Prix, Derek Daly is back stateside with the Formula One story, the IMSA points race, and a new IndyCar partnership. Derek?
Thanks, Bob. I do like to travel, but it is good to be home. But what a great couple of weeks racing we had in Estoril and at the Nürburgring. At Estoril, of course, David Coulthard got his much-deserved first Grand Prix victory. And at the Nürburgring, I witnessed what I consider to be one of Michael Schumacher's finest ever displays in his Formula One career. On a cold, grey and wet day in the German Eifel Mountains, most starters, including pole sitter David Coulthard, began on rain tyres. Schumacher and Eddie Irvine took advantage of Damon Hill's poor getaway to grab 2nd and 3rd. With the track beginning to dry, Coulthard led the parade of leaders to the pit for slicks with only 12 laps completed. John Alesi, however, had chosen to run his Ferrari from the green light on the Goodyear slicks, and his gamble paid off as he was able to stay out and begin a commanding lead that would last 52 laps. The best battle? There were several, but in each instance, either Damon Hill or Michael Schumacher was a key player. This one was for 3rd place. Schumacher then put distance between himself and Hill when he got by Coulthard for 2nd. After pit stops, Hill picked up 2nd place and wasted no time in challenging Alesi for the lead. But he made a big mistake, pulled himself on the grass, and instead of the lead, he got a lengthy pit stop to repair his shattered front wing. Hill's highlights don't end here. With 8 laps to go, he again got loose, and the result being a high-speed spin in the wet grass and a hard hit against the tire barrier. With this DNF comes a reality that his chase of Schumacher for the world title is now virtually over. Never one to coast, Schumacher nipped at Alesi's 22-second lead, repeatedly setting fastest laps, and with just 2 laps to go, caught the Ferrari and made this bold outside pass going into the Vidal chicane. In replay, you can see the tires interlocked, and Schumacher actually hits Alesi in the tightest part of the chicane while pulling off this move. Born just 60 miles from here, Schumacher heated up the dreary day for his fans with his 17th career Formula One win, breaking a tie with a great Sterling Moss.
Winning the German Grand Prix in Hockenheim, I thought this is the greatest I ever achieved, and it will be difficult to achieve it again. But as the way I won this race today, it's unbelievable. And again, in Germany, I made it full now, the 2 home Grand Prix plus the Grand Prix where I live in Monte Carlo and Spa. I won all of them. I'm very glad.
Schumacher's 27-point lead looks insurmountable, although he has never posted victories at either Suzuka or Adelaide. The Pacific Grand Prix at Aida, where he is the defending champion, is next up on October 22nd. After those 3 races, David Coulthard will bid goodbye to the Williams team and move over to become Mika Häkkinen's teammate at McLaren for 96. His contract length just for 1 year. When the 96 season rolls around, qualifying is now reduced to just 1 session on Saturday. Gone is the normal Friday qualifying session. That now becomes just more practice time. The IMSA Exxon World Sports Car Championship will go down to the final race. Last Saturday, under the lights at Phoenix International Raceway, the Ferrari of Fermín Vélez started from the pole and dominated the 2-hour event, at one point putting the entire field down by a lap. The championship field was reduced from 5 hopefuls to just Vélez and James Weaver. Vélez and Mauro Baldi's Scandia team owner Andy Evans was in Indianapolis this week. He has purchased a 49% interest in Dick Simon Racing. The World Sports Car Factory Ferrari team owner and the longtime IndyCar entrant sealed the deal on Tuesday. Scandia Simon Racing will be consolidated at the IndyCar facility on the west side of Indianapolis, and their 1996 plans look like this. Carlos Guerrero will campaign the full IndyCar season backed by Herdez. Eliseo Salazar commits to the full Indy Racing League season and will also run the IndyCar Oval events. Vélez and Baldi will also run IMSA's Daytona and Sebring endurance events only, but they both tested recently at Putnam Park in an IndyCar.
Scandia has achieved a manufacturer's title this year for Ferrari, first time since 1972, with Jackie X and the 312 PB. I'm excited for what we've accomplished, and I want to take that to the next level. IndyCar is the next level, and working with Dick Simon is, in my opinion, a great opportunity for all of Scandia.
We've really been trying to figure out a program that would put us in direct competition with the top teams out there. Although we've managed to finish second and on the pole a few times, just to pull off that win, we haven't been able to do it. We've come close, but we haven't been able to do it. And it's been driving me absolutely nuts.
Road racer Salazar's impressive fourth at Indy, coupled with several other oval track runs near the front of the pack, has prompted him to ask for the additional sponsorship needed to run the IRL.
My best result this year have been in ovals, so they have very good venues like Disney World, Vegas. So I think it's going to be a very good series. And on the other hand, also some of the oval races in IndyCar, like Miami, Rio, are going to be very successful. So it was hard for me to choose between one or the other. And that's why we're doing this combination of taking the best of both worlds. And we don't have the budget to run a competitive IndyCar season, so we're going to pick and choose, the best of both series.
As a final part of this deal, don't be surprised to see Dick Simon himself come out of retirement to complete the driver roster for Daytona and Sebring. What a spectacle that might be. Bob?
Thanks, Derek. Also revealed at Phoenix, after 7 years, the Nissan GTS factory team will not return to IMSA competition next year. That leaves defending champion Steve Millen looking for a ride. The good news is that he has shed the halo and is steadily recovering from the Road Atlantic crash that left him with 2 broken vertebrae.
Earlier in the year, I got approached by a couple of teams about what I was going to do and what I'd like to drive for them next year. But, when you're with a team as good as Nissan for 7 years, you say, well, thank you very much, but I'm really happy where I am and so on. I think it's time to go back and see those people now and say, are the offers still on the table, and see what comes of it.
Millen's soon-to-be ex-teammate Johnny O'Connell tells SpeedWeek that he is pursuing opportunities ranging from Trans Am to open-wheel racing. Stay tuned. We're going to put the speed in SpeedWeek. Dave the King Wilson is up next on SpeedWeek as we go short tracking.
Thanks, Bob. Hagerstown Speedway in Maryland was the site of the annual Oktoberfest 300, comprised of 4 divisions of cars racing for a total of 300 laps. In the stock car event, Rodney Franklin was running second when he hand grenaded his motor. He was okay. Davey Johnson led from start to finish to bag the $10,000 top prize. In the small block modified feature, Billy Pont, still recovering from a broken arm suffered at the Knoxville Nationals, grabbed the early lead. While battling for third, Ricky Elliott lost it while trying to pass second-generation racer Richie Tobias. That's Doug Hoffman making a nice move to avoid the spitting Elliott. On a lap 24 restart, Hoffman challenged Ponch for the lead and made the pass stick between turns 1 and 2. Hoffman held on to record the $5,000 win, but Ponch got revenge in the big block feature by taking the $10,000 top prize. Donnie Kreitz set on the pole for the sprint car feature and jumped to the early lead. But just 8 laps in, he was passed by Dan Dietrich for the top spot. The race was brought to a halt when Danny Jones and Alan Cole got tangled up, resulting in Jeff Rohball getting upside down. Everyone was okay. Ponch challenged for the lead of this feature as well, but it was Dietrich who held on to take home the $10,000 top prize. Brent Kading wrapped up the GSC title Friday night at Watsonville Speedway, but in his heat race, all eyes were on Paul McMahon, who took this wild ride down the backstretch. He was okay and, in fact, was able to make repairs and re-enter the race. He did one better the next night as he came back to win the NARC feature at San Jose. For SpeedWeek, I'm Dave the King Wilson.
Two very famous names in American motorsports are reaching for different milestones in the land speed record books. For one, it's a first attempt at straight lining. For the other, it's a return that's been a long time coming. Speed records are nothing new to Lynn St. James. She set 31 nationally and internationally in her career. In fact, Lynn's Indy qualifying mark of 224.208 miles an hour currently stands as the fastest closed-course speed for a female. But along with husband and Bonneville veteran Roger Lessman, St. James will make her first Salt Flats appearance next July in an attempt to break the wheel-driven land speed record of 409.277 miles an hour, which has stood since 1965. The Streamliner, being built in Indianapolis under the guide of renowned engineer Bob Riley and mechanic Mark Scott, will utilize aerospace technology and the power of natural gas. A Ford-based big block engine will provide the horsepower Lynn will need to claim the title Fastest Woman on Earth, and National Geographic is on board literally to document the events. These shots retell the story of America's best-known speed demon, Craig Breedlove. The ex-California hot rodder, who was the first to top 400, 500, and 600 miles an hour, is coming back at age 58 with a lofty goal. Bring down to earth what Chuck Yeager did in the air almost 50 years ago. Go 765 miles an hour and break the sound barrier. The third version of Breedlove's famous Spirit of America is nearing completion. A jet-propelled J79 engine from an F4 Phantom fighter will be fueled by primary sponsor Shell. And Breedlove also plans a summer run 33 years after setting his first world speed record.
We plan to do final assembly in January, and that would lead up to a press debut at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, and then we would go on from there to probably do a few of the auto shows, and then that would hopefully lead to initial test runs at Edwards Air Force Base, and then from there we would wait till Black Rock Desert dried out and begin the record runs probably in June or July of 1996.
This time it will be the Craig B and Craig T show. The star of ABC's Coach and IMSA World Sports Car racer Craig T. Nelson has taken a social and financial interest in the project. He's obtained the rights to Breedlove's story and intends to write and direct a full-length motion picture.
You know, Craig is one of the most fascinating people I've ever known. I mean, he's an innovator. He's done all of this on basically his own. He's a high school dropout. He's a designer. He's a fabricator. He's an engineer, and he's the 5-time world record holder of the land speed record, and he's done it. The first 2 efforts were done out of the garage in Southern California. So this is an effort that was really kind of dear to my heart because it was a privateer effort that he had put together, and he didn't have too much support at the time. So anything we could do to publicize it and then get it going was just going to be fun and be part of it. Plus, he's one of the better human beings on the face of the planet.
Come July, this will be the place to be. Gary Lee is standing by in the SpeedWeek newsroom with the latest qualifying results and, ironically, the latest weather report from Charlotte. Gary?
Thanks, Bob. In scenes reminiscent of the remnants of Hurricane Aaron invading the Brickyard 400, Tropical Storm Opal has done the same thing to practice and qualifying for the UAW GM Quality 500 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. In fact, Winston Cup qualifying was scheduled for Wednesday night. It didn't happen until Friday afternoon. The wait didn't bother Ricky Rudd, who won his second Busch Pole of the year. The tied Ford is looking for win number 1 in '95, and Rudd needs it to extend his 12-year streak. But he's never been to victory lane at Charlotte. All the drivers qualifying 6th through 10th have also never tasted victory at the 1.5-mile high-speed banked oval. Terry Labonte needs 29 more points than Rusty Wallace on Sunday to slide into the top 5 in points. Now here's a look at more of the top 15. Missing from the overall top 25, Earnhardt. 37th, Elliott 42nd, and Dale Jarrett 43rd. The Busch Grand National Series is back after a 2-week break. Points leader Johnny Benson comes in with a 200-point lead over Chad Little. Benson will start his Chevy 6th. Little had to take a provisional in his Harris Teeter Ford. It's Tom Kendall's championship to win as the SCCA Trans Am Series concludes their season Saturday at Sears Point. Kendall can claim his second Trans Am title by bringing his Ford Mustang Cobra home in 17th position or better. Ron Hornaday will lead the 19-car grid in the Winston West 40-lap race, also on tap in Sonoma. The series has 3 races remaining to decide the championship. And we have some late news notes from Charlotte. Ricky Rudd's crew chief Billy Engel will depart the Tide operation next season to join Steve Grissom as team manager and crew chief for Diamond Ridge Motorsports. And at Bahari Racing, Johnny Benson will be in the cockpit of the Pennzoil Pontiac come February at Daytona. And finally, our congratulations to Sean Hendricks, who won the IMSA Bridgestone Supercar Championship at Phoenix. As we go to break, here's a look at the CarQuest Racing calendar. For all your auto parts needs, you'll find it at CarQuest.
The marketing capabilities attached to racing are endless. This week, NASCAR entered the restaurant business with NASCAR Cafe. The first NASCAR-themed and interactive eatery will open in Myrtle Beach next summer. Plans are to expand into a nationwide chain. In a separate venture, some very impressive motorsports names gathered in Charlotte on Thursday to announce auto racing's answer to the global fascination with rock and roll and Hollywood. Impressive names indeed: Richard Petty, Jeff Gordon, Michael Andretti, and John Force. Their new venture is called Race Rock and will be an international chain of racing-themed restaurants. Video games, racing simulators, and memorabilia will complement the restaurants, the first of which is scheduled to open in Orlando next January. The group hopes to bring the thrill of racing and the taste of victory to motorsports fans around the world. SpeedWeek will take next week off, but here's a look at our air times beginning October 20th. On that edition, we'll bring you a special look into the recovery of IMSA star Jeremy Dale. All shows are on Friday nights. We leave you tonight with a look at the open house hosted by Dale Earnhardt at his Chevy dealership, attended by some 8,000 fans. So long, everyone.